Let's look at this further now with Nicole Rycroft, who joins us from Vancouver, and she's the founder and executive director of Canopy. Welcome to the programme. Tell us, does the pledge made to end and reverse deforestation by 2030 go far enough, in your opinion?
Well, Maria, this is really welcome because nature-based solutions like conserving forest ecosystems are a critical part of stabilising our climate. But why are we waiting for 10 years? Protecting forests, it's the fastest and cheapest, most cost-effective way for us to stabilise our climate and biodiversity. And logging of primary forest is akin to continuing with coal and fossil fuel exploration. And so it's a climate disaster. And so we can't actually afford to wait until 2030. You know, if we do that, then there's the potential for 260 gigatons of carbon to be released. We need to be moving much faster, but there is a lot that's positive in this announcement. There's $20 billion in funds to help the transition to conservation-based economies, to help Indigenous communities and governments to be central to land use decisions. The governments that are responsible or have governance over 85% of the world's large tracts of forests, Canada, Brazil, Russia, Indonesia, they're all going to be signatories. And they need to deliver not just on deforestation, but also on forest degradation.
Nicole, just on that very point of delivering, are you confident that they will deliver? Because such promises have been made in the past. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We have stepped up to this line before on a couple of occasions, and now is definitely the time for nations and for companies to deliver. I think everybody's clear that this is a turnaround decade for our planet. And so what governments need to be doing is not just putting in place, you know, the producer countries as well as consumer countries need to be putting in place policies and investments that help enable the transition at the sourcing or the producing countries, the countries that still have large-scale forests that can be conserved.
Nicole, sorry to interrupt you. You know, as you're speaking and you say you hope that this will be a turnaround decade, and you're talking about policy, how do you make that binding? How do you monitor what progress is made over these next 10 years? And as you said, this is the fastest and cheapest way to bring down emissions.
Well, I think there needs to be both very clear targets set with which trade and investment is coupled. There also need to be policies and investments that help incentivize and spark truly sustainable supply chains, the transition to circular economy, making packaging from straw, enabling clothing to be made from recycled clothing. You know, there are incentives like the $20 billion that goes part way, but during COVID, we've seen governments release $25 trillion in COVID response. So there's the incentives, and then there's obviously the punitive measures of potential isolation on a global stage, not being able to access markets, and being, you know, there are moves to establish environmental crimes as part of the crimes against humanities process.
Environmental crimes, that's something I'd like to explore further with you next time. Nicole Rycroft, thank you so much for speaking to us today on TRT World.
You're welcome, Ria.